Welcome to World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Each week, someone will be holding court with Justin Gimelstob. This week, it's Venus Williams. Venus talks candidly about her family, her legacy, and her future in the sport.
Venus, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you.
So now you're 33 years of age. You've accomplished everything in the sport. I mean, it's remarkable. 7 major championships, 44 singles titles, 22 majors overall, 4 Olympic gold medals. How do you stay motivated? What do you still enjoy about the sport so much?
I love the game. When you spend this much time doing something like tennis or a sport, it really becomes a part of you. Tennis is a big part of me. And it's just an opportunity, and there's only a short window that you can play. You know, you're only young for so long, so while I have that window, I'm going to be hitting balls.
What's the biggest challenge in managing your condition, Sjogren's syndrome?
I think the biggest challenge for me is that there was no roadmap. There is no roadmap. I'm just kind of the only person out here, and I have to figure out what works best for me. I have to figure out, big things like what medications work. I have to figure out things like what schedule works for me. I have to manage my expectations. You have to learn to play with no fears. A lot of things that I've had to learn quickly, and it's definitely been a life-changing experience, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Venus, can you still be competitive at the top of the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely know I can be competitive. I just have to get my health together. I've had just health issues, obviously, and injuries, a lot of injuries last year. So my prayer is to just make sure my health is okay, then I'll be fine, because I know how to fight out there, so I enjoy it.
No doubt about that. Do you have a plan for how you want to play or finish the remainder of your career?
My goal right now is the Olympics. Big motivation for me coming back on tour was the Olympics, and I had 2 months to get, from 150 to top 50. So somehow I found a way, and that was all I wanted.
Why are the Olympics so important to you?
When I played the first time, I played for my dad. He always wanted us to play the Olympics. And after that, I was hooked. Now I play for me and, for the USA and all of that. So it's just an unbelievable feeling being there and competing.
Could you ever imagine growing up in one of the most dangerous cities in America, Compton, California, that you'd end up having accomplished what you have?
Well, for me, Compton was where I was from, and I didn't know anything else. It's a great place to grow up if you have the right guidance, I think. Of course, circumstance happens. You never know, what situation you're going to be in at what time, and thankfully that didn't happen to me. But I think when you grow up on the alleged wrong side of the tracks, it gives you a view of every single aspect of life. You're able to understand things from your shoes and everyone else's. I think when you don't grow up there, you sometimes can be a little limited.
What was life like growing up in the Williams household?
Oh, well, my dad's a bit of a visionary, so you never could say, I don't know. You always had to have an answer. There was a lesson with every single thing. Even if you watched a cartoon, you had to find the lesson in it. So you definitely had to be able to think for yourself, be on your feet. We went to church and service, 2 or 3 times a week, and I think that has kept us extremely grounded in our lives.
You've had some real adversity throughout your career with your life. Your sister passing away was just incredibly tragic. How has that affected you?
Well, I think that I appreciate my family, and I count my blessings. And these days, you don't know when you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's how life is. So for me, I just try to appreciate every moment. And nowadays, you don't just watch it on the news like it's happening to you, and that's the state of the world. And so I just try to appreciate the moment.
You're very close to both of your parents, but also during the course of your career, your parents got divorced. How has that changed the dynamic?
I think my parents' divorce was for the best. It was time. They got apart, and I think they're both doing great. So obviously, I'm glad it didn't happen when I was a young person. That would have been tough, but I was older, so I'm glad they saw us through and was able to give us, stable upbringing.
More holding court with Justin and Venus Williams a little later on. But next, John Wertheim and the editors from Tennis.com discuss the state of the WTA Tour. We'll be right back. Worlds of Tennis is brought to you by BNP Paribas, the bank for a changing world. And by World Tennis Day. Join the worldwide celebration March 3rd. For information, go to worldtennisday.com. Welcome back to Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. John Wertheim and the editors from Tennis.com, Peter Bodo, Tom Parada, and Andrew Friedman talk about the WTA Tour.
In 2013, Serena Williams won 2 majors. The player ranked behind her, Victoria Azarenka, won 1. And then at Wimbledon, Sabine Lisicki played Marion Bartoli in the Dream Final. Bartoli won that. Of course, she retired a few weeks later. But it seems like the WTA still has this capacity for these unexpected results. Pete, do you see that continuing, and is this a good thing?
I like it because, for one thing, it's a good contrast with the men. You know, with the men where you've got the 4 guys dominating, and you, especially with Nadal and Djokovic now a little bit maybe nose ahead, you know, with Murray having been out at the end of last year, you know, it's kind of refreshing to me, I think, and it's interesting why that's happening. I think the surface doesn't mean as much in the women's game as the men's game. They can actually play more or less, you know, different styles much more readily than the men can.
I like it too. It's fun. I'm still waiting for someone to really come up and look like they might have the potential to be at least a half a Serena, if not all Serena. You know, the women's game has always had these legendary, amazing players who set the standard, and the Williams sisters have admirably done it for years now. But behind them, where is that? I think it's going to continue for a while more, which is very odd considering the history of women's tennis. But there's got to be somebody in a few years who just starts cleaning up. It has to be. Tennis has just always been that way.
No, it is interesting how this has really switched the model from the men, where 10 years ago the men's field was wide open and the women's had only a few contenders, and now, you know, take Serena out of it, and after her, any of a dozen players. I mean, it's Petra Kvitova, a better or worse chance of winning this than Radwanska. Do you like these wide open fields? It seems like Serena plus 12 is how I look at these.
Well, you know, I feel like there's a balance, right? Serena's far and away the best player of the year. She had 4 losses in all of 2013.
2 at majors.
2 at majors, but still, so she won, you know, 2 majors, sure. But then there was this Bartoli surprise, and then the next best player wins it. That feels right to me. You know, you kind of have somebody dominating, far and away the best, but then you still have these moments of surprise, which I like. And it seems like it's been this way for quite a while now. You know, Schiavone wins in 2010, the French Open. Nobody saw that coming. The next year, I think, you know, all 4, you know, Kleister's recently back from retirement, wins. Sam Stosur won the U.S. Open. Lee Na picked up a major that year. Right. It seems to be the way now for a while. And I think that, like I said, that balance between kind of the top 1 or 2 players and then this room for a wild card, not a literal wild card, but someone to come out of left field and win.
What I think is great about the women's game in a sense is there's the fact that Serena loses at Wimbledon. You know, if you had Roger losing at Wimbledon once in a while, it'd be pretty good. If you had, you know, Rafa losing at the French Open once in a while, it'd be pretty good. Now, God bless them, they, you know, everything they've done, they've earned. But, you know, it's different. You know, it doesn't take a lot. I mean, yeah, you need great rivalries and dominant players. You need those guys to lose once in a while, and these guys aren't losing once in a while.
I think the frustration in the women's game, too, is that you have these results. You know, Lisicki reaches the final, and she beats Serena, and really sort of out-nerved Serena Williams at Wimbledon. What a breakthrough! And then we don't hear much from her.
Radio
the rest
silence.
Of the day. Yeah, and I think that it does seem like a lot of players have a hard time sort of piggybacking. You know, Sam Stosur has this U.S. Open, again, beats Serena in the final of a major. Wow, the door's open now, and she hasn't done much since. I mean, I'm sort of interested in your take on why there hasn't been that Act 2, that follow-up in a lot of cases.
I don't know the answer. It's interesting with Lisicki, poor Lisicki. I mean, she out-nerved Serena, as you say, and then in the final was, at certain points, couldn't even hit the ball.
Right,
she was so
mid-match
nervous.
tears, the whole world, yeah.
A player like Serena or her sister or Chris Evert or Martina, they get there that time and they win. And they keep doing it and they keep doing it. You know, once they get, we're not seeing anyone follow up on a good result like those great players started out and did. Yeah.
For a fan's perspective, makes for good viewing. You've got one player who's won almost half the majors played over the last decade, and then the rest of the field is just pick 'em. I think we're all in agreement, if nothing else, this likely continue in 2014.
Thanks, Tennis.com. When we come back, there's more Holding Court with Justin and Venus Williams on Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Welcome back to Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Now back to Holding Court with Justin and Venus Williams.
Are you conscious of how you changed the game?
Yes, but it's a whole lot of fun to be able to not only play the game, but to change it and take a role in history of the game. For me, is something that I had never dreamed of. It's a privilege and an honor to elevate the level. I couldn't ask for more.
What about the significance of being the first African American woman in the Open era to be ranked #1?
Once again, another thing I didn't really plan on. As a kid, you grow up and you're just a person, but you don't realize how you can represent so many people, so many women or minorities, and become another first. Wow! Once again, what an honor.
When people talk about you in the same breath as the modern-day Billie Jean King, what emotions does that evoke? For me, when people say, "Oh, modern day Billie Jean King," I'm like, didn't start the WTA nor the Women's Sport Foundation, and had to play, Bobby Riggs. I haven't fought for women's rights. For me, I feel like it's more or less I've learned from the example of her and also so many people, other people who are trailblazers for women's rights, African American rights, all those things. So anything I can contribute for me is just in addition to all those things they've done. Well, you're being modest. You were a huge champion in terms of equal prize money.
Yes, perhaps, but also at the same time, I wasn't planning on that. I just was there. And sometimes you find yourself wearing some shoes that you never thought you were going to wear. And I think that's kind of the situation I found myself in for equal prize money. And I'm just very happy that there is equal prize money.
Someday, hopefully, if you have a beautiful family, or if not, if you had to go do it all over again, would you want to go through everything that it took to make you the great champion?
I couldn't do it again. I couldn't go through all that again. Looking back, all those hours. You're in the moment when you're doing it, and you don't think about how much it's going to take, but it's a lot of work. I don't know if I'll have kids. I'm lazy. I don't like to cook. I don't clean. I don't wash. I'm the ultimate bachelorette, so if I were to have kids, it would be an ultimate shock. I'd be like, I have to clean. I have to cook. I have to wake up early. What is happening here? So were I to have kids, I love tennis. I think it's the ultimate sport because you can choose your own destiny. Yeah, I'd probably have them play.
Relationships. Serena's been a little bit more overt and public about her significant others over the years, where you've been incredibly private. Is that conscious?
I'm a really private person. The things I do on the court are like out there, but what I do off the court. And honestly, let's face it, most relationships break up. So when they do break up, at least I don't have to eat my words. That's my theory. Keep it simple. So
you hate when you read about all these relationships, how everything's so perfect.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And then boom. So it's kind of like the kiss of death. So I don't know.
So keep it private and you're less vulnerable and just protect the relationship.
No, I protect me.
I appreciate your candor.
Oh God, you know how relationships are.
What about the next generation of American tennis? The American women's tennis looks a lot brighter than American men's tennis at the moment.
I think the women are playing well, and I think for American tennis, we've had so many unbelievable great champions since basically the beginning of tennis, that now that maybe we're having a little bit of a lull, we're just so accustomed to that. So yeah, I think it'll come around, but it's just got to give it some time.
Are the public's expectations unrealistic because they've been both in men's and women's American tennis? It's they have to recalibrate those expectations. Is it unfair for the next generation?
I think the next generation, as long as they focus on the ball, be fine. I don't worry about it a lot.
You and your sister and Sampras and Agassi, you spoiled them.
Yeah, we've had some great players throughout history, and it's great to be part of that, on that list, really.
Sloane Stephens, how good can she be?
Oh my God, she's already great. So I think that she can, tennis is one of those sports where there's no limit. There's no limit to what she can achieve. So she just get out there and I think keep doing what she's doing.
How good can Madison Keys be?
Good. I think we have a really similar game, actually. I think she's a bit more of a shot maker than me. Like, she's going to hit any shot at any time. You have to just say, too good.
That's a huge compliment. So you're
Yeah.
saying she plays similarly to you, but she's a bigger shot maker. That's pretty heady compliment.
Yeah, I think that I hit big shots, but I'm not a shot maker. You know, there's some people who are just going to make a shot from anywhere, and you're like, wow. So it's learning to balance, obviously, the shot making with consistency and strategy. So I think she could be amazing.
Pretty big compliment. You've won 22 majors, so you said she's a bigger shot maker. It's a lot of pressure you're
Well,
putting on
I
her.
had a great doubles partner too, you know, several.
You and Serena were always very outspoken about how much you idolized some of the male players, like Sampras and Roger Federer. Why is that?
I think back in the day we loved Pete, and we just wanted to win Wimbledon. So he was winning every year, and he would go a whole summer without losing serve. So as an impressionable young person, that's awesome. If you want to play big, you want to play well on grass, you want to serve big. So that was kind of, we try to get motivated by looking at other people saying, yeah, they're doing it better, let me do it better too.
A lot of times tennis is being considered a predominantly white sport. Do you believe that with the success of you and Serena that you've altered that a little bit?
I think at the grassroots level, you see a lot of African Americans playing tennis, in the stands watching tennis. So that's definitely a positive. I think you see a lot more college players as well. That's great too, because it's great to see just all sorts of people benefiting from such a great game.
What would you like your legacy to the sport to be?
I've never been a big legacy person. I think in your life, you do the best you can. Try to do positive things in your life and in others' lives. At the end of the day, hopefully you die with a smile on your face because you did something for someone else. So that is really all I want. And, you know, obviously the older I get, which is really not that old, but not yet at least, but I think more and more about what I'm giving and not necessarily what I'm getting.
Venus, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for everything you're doing for the sport, and good luck throughout 2014.
Thank you.
Time now for this week's Getty Images on Tour. Congratulations to the winners of the 2014 Australian Open. Thanks, Getty Images. We'll be right back. World of Tennis is brought to you by BNP Paribas, the bank for a changing world, and by the BNP Paribas Showdown. See Djokovic, Murray, the Bryans, and the McEnroe brothers March 3rd at Madison Square Garden. Welcome back to World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Time for Justin's final take, brought to you by Tennis Express.
I need to preface with I'm biased. Over 15 years ago, I fielded a phone call from an enormously talented young woman asking if I would play mixed doubles with her in the Australian Open. Her reputation, the prodigious talent, it preceded her. But right from that first match we played against Ellis Ferreira and Katrina Adams on a backcourt in Melbourne, I knew she would be a star, change the sport, and I was lucky to be her partner. The bigger the match, the better she played. It was obvious she was special, not just in her physical skills, but in the way that she not only embraced challenges, but also seemed to enjoy them. Venus has had an incredible career, winning 22 major championships, including 5 Wimbledon singles and 2 US Open singles titles, not to mention our 2 mixed doubles wins. Venus has also won 4 Olympic gold medals, 44 overall career titles, and she's reached the pinnacle of the sport, the #1 ranking. She changed the sport with her athleticism, her aggressive shot making, but also with her commitment to women's rights and equality. Venus is tennis royalty, an icon, and that phone call was one of the most serendipitous of my life. I hope Venus can manage her condition and play for many more years to come, because in a similar way to Roger Federer, the sport is significantly better with her in it.
Thanks, Tennis Express. Now here's a look at the WTA Tour schedule, brought to you by Wilson. For more of Justin's interview with Venus Williams, you can go to StarGamesInc.com. The next episode of Worlds of Tennis premieres Wednesday, February 5th at 7 p.m. In the next Holding Court, Justin spends time with John and Patrick McEnroe. See you next time on Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas.